Snow fell like ash over the mountains, covering the alien fortress in a cold silence. The valley below was filled with soldiers, banners, and steel machines, all gathered for a single purpose: to watch a human die. The prisoner was dragged forward, his wrists bound in glowing chains that burned against his skin. His uniform was torn, his face bruised, but his eyes remained steady. He did not beg, he did not look down. Instead, he scanned the crowd of alien warlords and soldiers as if memorizing every face. Above the fortress, ships hovered in the clouds. Their engines hummed like thunder, shaking the frozen ground. This was not just an execution. It was a message. The aliens wanted the galaxy to see that humanity could be broken, that Earth's soldiers could be humiliated. They wanted fear to spread faster than any weapon. The warlord leading the ceremony stood tall on a black platform. His armor was decorated with spikes and trophies from past battles. His voice carried across the valley, harsh and cruel. This human thought he could stand against us. He thought his kind mattered. But today, his death will prove the truth. Humanity is weak. Humanity is nothing. The alien crowd roared in approval, stamping their weapons against the ground. Their cheers echoed between the mountains like the sound of drums before a storm. The soldier did not move. He stood tall even as guards forced him to his knees. His breath was heavy in the cold air, but his gaze never faltered. One of the guards leaned closer, sneering. "Where is your courage now, human?" The soldier finally spoke. His voice was calm, almost too calm for a man about to die. "Courage is not gone. It waits," the warlord laughed, raising a long blade carved from black stone. Its edge glowed faintly with energy, sharp enough to cut through steel. He wanted to kill the human slowly, to make him suffer before the end. The entire crowd leaned forward, waiting to see blood. But before the strike, the soldier whispered something. His lips barely moved, but the words were clear enough for the nearest guards to hear. "They are coming." The guards froze for a moment, unsure if it was a threat or madness. The warlord ignored it and raised the blade higher. In that final second, the soldier closed his eyes. Not from fear, but from acceptance. He thought of Earth. He thought of the oceans, the forests, the cities glowing with light. He thought of the millions of voices who would carry on the fight after him. The blade came down. The crowd erupted into cheers as the soldier's body fell to the frozen ground. Blood stained the snow and the chains flickered out. The warlord lifted the blade high, showing it to the sky like a trophy. "Let this be the fate of any who resist us." He shouted. Cameras hidden across the valley broadcasted the scene to distant systems. Billions of beings would see this moment. To the aliens, it was proof of victory. To humanity, it would become something else, because the soldier's final words were not just empty defiance. His whisper had been a signal, a code. Tiny machines no larger than insects had already taken flight from his uniform before the blade struck. They scattered into the sky, invisible against the snow, carrying the soldier's last message back to Earth. And in the silence after the cheering, the warlord felt something he had not expected: unease. The human's eyes, even in death, seemed to stare back at him. Hours later, in the alien stronghold, soldiers celebrated with fire and drink. They believed the execution was the end of the story. They did not know it was only the beginning. Far above the frozen mountains, beyond the range of their senses, something stirred in the void of space. Silent machines drifted, waiting for the signal. They received it now. The human's code, the message of his death. The lights of Earth, thousands of light years away, had already heard him, and Earth was listening. The warlord looked down at the prisoner's lifeless body one last time before turning away. The snow continued to fall, covering the red stain in the ice, but the words echoed in his mind, no matter how hard he tried to ignore them. "They are coming." This was no victory. It was an invitation, and the Reaper was already on its way. The soldier's execution spread across the stars like fire. Every alien channel repeated the footage, showing the moment when a human was brought low before the warlord's blade. They thought the image would break Earth. They thought fear would silence billions, but the effect was the opposite. On Earth, cities stood still. Crowds gathered in silence before massive screens in squares, stations, and towers. Families, workers, and soldiers alike watched the scene replay. The roar of alien laughter filled every home. The warlord's words echoed in their ears. Humanity is nothing. For a few seconds there was only quiet. No one moved. No one breathed. Then anger rose like a storm. In the United Nations Hall, leaders of Earth's nations sat together in a chamber filled with shadows. No arguments, no divisions. The image of the dead soldier hung on the wall behind them. His face was bruised, his body broken, but his eyes, the same steady eyes that had stared down an empire, still seemed alive. One of the leaders stood. His voice was low but carried across the hall. They wanted fear. Instead, they will see fury. Activate the Reaper. Around the room, there were no questions, no hesitations. Everyone knew what those words meant. For years, Earth had prepared for this moment. Secret programs hidden beneath oceans, in hollowed-out mountains, and deep under the surface of the moon had waited in silence. Projects spoken of only in whispers. The Reaper was not one ship. It was not one weapon. It was humanity's shield and sword, forged from every lesson of every war. A fleet built in silence, powered by technologies stolen, discovered and perfected. Machines that could blind enemy senses, warships that could disappear into shadows, weapons that could strike from across light years. Now, the Reaper stirred. In a hidden hangar beneath the Pacific Ocean, doors the size of cities opened for the first time. Black waters boiled as giant carriers rose from the depths, their hulls dripping with salt and steel. Engines thundered as they climbed into the night sky, vanishing through clouds like ghosts. On the dark side of the moon, launch bays lit up with a fire that had been waiting for decades. Squadrons of sleek black ships, sharp as blades, launched into orbit. Their wings caught the faint light of the sun before disappearing into the black. Beneath the frozen ice of Antarctica, long-hidden silos cracked open, releasing missiles that drifted upward, their trails glowing faint against the stars. They did not explode. They waited, guided by invisible hands. The Reaper was awake. In the command center of the orbital station, Admiral Solon watched the streams of data rushing across her screens. She was an older woman, her hair silver, her eyes cold. She had lived through 3 wars, but never one like this. She looked at the final message sent by the executed soldier. The words repeated on her display. "They are coming." "Not yet," she whispered to herself. But soon, around her, officers worked in silence. There was no shouting, no panic. Every soldier, every technician knew what was at stake. They had prepared for this moment all their lives. The Reaper was not just vengeance. It was a promise. Kill one human, and you face them all. Across Earth, the people waited. Streets were quiet, but hearts burned. Families held each other close. Children asked their parents why the aliens hated them so much. And the parents, though afraid, answered the same way, because they fear what we can become. The death of one soldier had united billions. Humanity did not feel small anymore. They felt unstoppable. Meanwhile, in alien space, the warlords celebrated. They drank in their halls, boasting of their triumph. Their messengers carried the footage across the empire, laughing at the weak species from the blue planet. Yet cracks of doubt appeared. Not all were blind. Some alien commanders replayed the soldier's final whisper. Some remembered the look in his eyes, the strange calm. They are coming. What did it mean? The warlord dismissed their fears. Empty words, he said. A dying man's last breath, but still the unease grew.
Shadows flickered in their scanners.
Ghost signals appeared at the edge of their systems, then vanished. Ships reported strange music on their channels, old Earth war songs, distorted and low, echoing through the void. Something was moving. Back on Earth, the first fleet of the Reaper began its journey. Black ships glided silently into the deep, their lights extinguished. Thousands of soldiers stood ready in armor that reflected no shine, carrying weapons designed for one purpose: to bring fear back to those who thought themselves untouchable. Above them all, In the heart of the fleet floated the Reaper's crown jewel, a supercarrier so massive it looked like a drifting continent. Its surface was lined with weapons and shields, but its true power was hidden inside. Entire armies, entire fleets could launch from within its belly. It was the silent shadow of humanity, built to end wars before they could begin. Now it had a reason to exist. Admiral Solon stood before the vast screen on the carrier's bridge. She raised her hand and silence fell across the fleet. "Humanity has been struck," she said, her voice calm and heavy. "They believe we will bow. They believe we will forget. But we do not bow. We do not forget. They killed one of us. Now they will meet all of us." The soldiers on the ship pounded their fists against their armor, a single thunderous sound that echoed through the halls. The order was given. The Reaper was unleashed. The alien empire stretched across hundreds of star systems. For centuries, their warlords ruled without challenge. They had crushed dozens of worlds, enslaved countless races, and burned civilizations to ash. No one dared to fight them, and so when the warlords killed the human soldier, they believed it was only another act of power. They thought humanity would cower, like so many others had. But the shadows in their skies told a different story. It began with silence. In one frontier system, alien workers on a mining colony looked up as their communications cut out. No alarms, no explosions, just silence. Satellites stopped transmitting. The stars above flickered for a moment, as if something massive had moved between them and the light. Then the music came. An old Earth war song, deep and slow, filled every channel. The aliens did not understand the words, but the tone was enough. A voice of iron echoing across the void. It chilled even the hardest soldiers. "What is this?" one commander demanded, slamming his claws against a console. But no one answered. Their scanners showed nothing. Their ships reported nothing. Yet something was there. In another system, far closer to the Empire's heart, fleets began to vanish. Patrols left on routine missions never returned. Only fragments of transmissions remained, static filled with whispers. Shadows moving too fast to track. Rumors spread quickly through the ranks. Some said the humans had built invisible ships. Others claimed it was not ships at all, but a single weapon that swallowed fleets whole. The word spread like fear always does. Faster than truth, the Reaper has come. On the alien capital world, the warlords gathered in their great hall. The walls glowed with firelight, and armored guards stood ready. The leader of the Empire, a massive creature wrapped in dark steel, raised his voice above the noise. "Do not fear these tricks. Humans are nothing. Their planet is small. Their fleet is weak. This Reaper is a ghost story." But even as he spoke, reports flooded in. Systems lost. Fleets gone. Outposts burned. And in every case, no enemy was seen until it was too late. The warlords shouted, arguing, some calling for reinforcements, others demanding peace. Yet the leader silenced them with one final roar. "We will crush them, as we crushed the one who died before us. Let them come." They did not wait long. The skies above the alien capital darkened. At first, they thought it was a storm. Clouds swirled, lightning split the horizon. But when the lightning cleared, something far worse remained. The Reaper had arrived, a supercarrier so vast it blocked out the stars. Black as shadow, silent as death. Its surface glimmered faintly with lines of energy, like veins of fire running through steel. Smaller ships circled it like predators around a beast, thousands of them, all without lights, without sound. The alien citizens looked up in terror. The streets that once roared with pride now filled with silence. Children clutched their parents. Soldiers stared helplessly at the sky. The warlord leader rose to his balcony, his claws gripping the stone railing. He had never seen such a ship, not in all his years of conquest. It was not just a vessel. It was a statement. Humanity had come. The alien fleet scrambled. Hundreds of warships rose into orbit, their engines burning bright. They surrounded the human carrier, weapons charged, ready to strike. Yet the Reaper did not move. It did not fire. It simply hovered, silent and still. And then every alien ship in orbit went dark, engines cut. Weapons powered down. Systems froze. The crews shouted in panic, but their ships no longer obeyed. One by one, they drifted powerless through space, as if the stars themselves had betrayed them. The humans had struck without a shot. On the bridge of the Reaper, Admiral Solon watched calmly. Around her, officers monitored the enemy's fleets. Not one human voice was raised. Not one hand trembled. They had prepared for this. Broadcast, Solon ordered. A channel opened. Across the alien empire, screens flickered. Every device, every display, every transmission was interrupted, and the image of the executed human soldier appeared once more. His final moments, his steady eyes, his last whisper, "They are coming." Then the feed cut to the Reaper itself, looming above the alien capital, its shadow drowning the world. Solon's voice followed, steady, cold. "You killed one of ours. Now you face all of us." On the ground, fear turned to chaos. Citizens ran through the streets. Soldiers hesitated, unsure if their weapons meant anything anymore. The warlords shouted, but their voices carried no strength, and still, the Reaper did not fire. Not yet. It waited, silent, patient, like a predator giving its prey one last chance to understand what was coming. The alien leader bared his teeth in rage. "Fire everything!" he roared, but no weapons answered. The Reaper's presence alone had already won the first battle. Above the alien world, humanity's fleet began to move. Black ships spread out in formation, surrounding the system. Orbital stations went offline. Planetary shields flickered, then collapsed. No one could explain how. No one could stop it. The Reaper had arrived, and the galaxy finally understood the meaning of its name. The alien capital world was drowning in silence. Above it hung the Reaper, black and endless, its shape blotting out the stars. Entire fleets floated powerless, drifting like corpses in orbit. Soldiers on the ground waited for orders, but none came. Every command from their leaders ended in static. Every system they trusted had gone dark. Still, the warlords believed they had control. They gathered in their palace, roaring with anger, shouting for their armies to rise. But the truth was already clear. Their empire was no longer in command. Humanity was. It began with the skies. A deep hum spread across the planet, vibrating through the mountains and oceans. The people lifted their eyes as the clouds split apart, glowing red from fire above. From the Reaper's belly, dropships fell like burning stars. Hundreds, thousands, their black hulls cut through the atmosphere, silent until the last second, when their engines roared and slammed them onto the surface. From those ships poured soldiers. Human soldiers clad in black armor, their visors glowing faint white. They moved with precision, every step in rhythm, every action controlled. No shouting, no fear. They looked less like men and women and more like shadows brought to life, the aliens, who had once cheered at the humans' execution, now watched in horror as Earth's army marched through their streets. The first resistance came quickly. Alien soldiers rushed forward, weapons raised. Plasma bolts lit the sky. Explosions cracked the stone walls. But the humans did not break. Their armor absorbed the blasts. Their movements flowed like water. One after another, alien lines collapsed. Every bullet fired by humanity was exact. Every strike was final. The battle lasted minutes, not hours. The alien soldiers dropped their weapons, hands raised, their courage gone. In the palace, the warlords could hear the sound of the fighting, short bursts of fire, then silence. The silence always returned, heavier each time. Above the planet, the Reaper opened its wings. Sections of the supercarrier unfolded, revealing hidden weapons. Cannons the size of towers rotated into position. Energy cores glowed along its spine, humming like a storm ready to break. Smaller ships swarmed outward, circling in perfect formation. Then the first strike came, a single beam of light cut through space, silent and clean. It pierced an alien warship, slicing it in half without sound. The pieces drifted apart, glowing as they burned in the atmosphere. No explosion, no chaos, just the calm precision of death. The second strike followed. Then the third. Within moments, every alien defense platform around the planet was gone. The Empire's proud fleet, once feared by all, was now nothing but debris falling like rain. The alien people begged for answers. Mothers held children. Workers hid in tunnels. Soldiers refused to leave their posts, frozen in fear. The warlords shouted promises of victory, but no one listened anymore, because above them all, the Reaper's shadow remained. It did not need to speak. Its presence alone was enough. Admiral Solon stood at the center of the Reaper's bridge. Her face was calm, her hands steady. She watched as the alien capital burned, but there was no joy in her eyes. Only resolve. Target the palace, she ordered. The crew obeyed. The supercarrier's main cannon lowered, a giant sphere of light building at its core. The energy gathered, brighter and brighter, until it lit the clouds. The palace towers shone like fire before the strike even came. The warlords inside felt the heat. Some screamed, some prayed, but none could stop it. The cannon fired. A beam of white fire cut through the palace, splitting it down the middle. Stone melted into ash, steel shattered like glass. The great hall collapsed in seconds. The warlords inside, reduced to shadows, burned into the walls. The Empire's throne was gone, but the Reaper was not finished. Its fleets moved system by system, world by world, cutting out the Empire's heart. Each colony that once waved the alien banner now fell silent as human forces arrived. Some surrendered instantly, terrified. Others fought, but their resistance lasted hours at most. The Reaper gave no speeches, no warnings. It moved with cold certainty. One soldier had died. An entire empire now paid the price. On the alien capital streets, survivors looked up as human banners were raised above their own. The sight was impossible to believe. For generations, they had bowed to their warlords. Now they bowed to humanity, but the humans did not kill them all. They did not enslave them. They secured the cities, destroyed weapons, and left the civilians alive. It was not mercy. It was a message. Humanity wanted the galaxy to see. When the last resistance broke, Admiral Solon gave the final order. Broadcast. Once again, every screen in the Empire lit up. Billions of eyes saw her face, calm and sharp, standing beneath the symbol of Earth. Her words were simple. You killed one of us. You thought humanity was weak. Now you see the truth. We are the Reaper. We do not forgive. We do not forget. And we will not be broken. The message ended. Across the galaxy, silence followed. For the first time in centuries, the alien empire was no longer feared. Humanity was, and as the Reaper drifted above the broken world, silent and black against the stars, every species understood. This was not just vengeance. This was a warning. The alien capital burned. The great palace of the warlords was gone, reduced to ash and rubble. Streets once filled with banners and pride now lay silent, filled only with smoke and fear. Above it all, the Reaper hovered, black against the stars, silent as a tomb. The galaxy had watched. Billions of eyes had seen the fall of the warlords. Billions had seen Earth's shadow stretch across the skies. The story that began with one soldier's execution had ended with an empire on its knees. But humanity was not done. On the bridge of the Reaper, Admiral Solon stood tall. The faces of her officers reflected the same resolve. They had fought with precision. They had won with certainty. Yet there was no celebration, no victory cries. Humanity had not come for glory. Humanity had come to send a message. Open every channel, Solon said. Across the Empire, every device flickered. Screens in homes, in military bases, in mining colonies, in distant outposts, all turned to one single broadcast. Even worlds untouched by the war saw it. Even species who had never met a human now stared at the image filling their skies. It was not Solon who appeared first. It was him, the soldier who had been executed. His final moments replayed once more, the chains, the bruises, the warlord's blade. His last whisper, "They are coming." His eyes steady even as the sword fell. The image froze on that look, that unbroken stare. Then the screen shifted to the Reaper itself, its endless frame blotting out the stars. And finally, Admiral Solon's voice. "You killed one of us. You believed it would end there. You believed humanity was weak, a small world to be crushed like so many before. But hear this now. We are not weak. We are not broken. We are the Reaper. Her words echoed in every corner of the galaxy. You will remember this day. You will remember the human you murdered. You will remember the price you paid. Let it be known to all. Kill one of us, and you summon all of us. Strike one, and the Reaper will come. On distant worlds, the message spread like fire. Some cheered in secret, for they had lived under the warlord's cruelty for generations. Others trembled, fearing that humanity would now turn its shadow upon them. But no one doubted the truth anymore. Humanity had stepped into the galaxy, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the ruins of the alien capital, survivors gathered in silence as human banners rose. They had expected slaughter, chains, and fire. Instead, the humans restored power to the cities, gave food to the starving, and released the prisoners kept in dungeons for decades. It was not mercy for the sake of kindness. It was mercy with purpose. The civilians were left alive to tell the story. To spread the warning, the Reaper destroys, but the Reaper also spares, because the fear of its return is stronger than the fire of its weapons. In secret halls across the galaxy, leaders of other empires whispered together. Some swore to prepare for war, to build new fleets, to stand against Earth if needed. Others swore never to cross humanity, to stay silent, to remain invisible. But no matter their decision, all remembered the same words: kill one of us. And you summoned the Reaper. Back on Earth, the people gathered in their cities. They had watched their fleets rise. They had seen the Reaper's shadow stretch across alien skies. They knew their soldier had not died in vain. His courage had awakened something greater. In schools, children spoke his last words with pride. In homes, families stood taller, no longer afraid of the galaxy beyond. Humanity had proven itself. The soldier who had fallen was no longer just a man. He was a symbol, a beginning. On the alien capital, Admiral Solon walked through the ruins of the palace. Around her, soldiers stood guard, silent and cold. She paused where the warlord's throne had once stood, now only rubble and ash. A single stone pillar still bore the black shadow burned into it when the Reaper's cannon had struck. The outline of a warlord frozen in death, forever etched into the walls. She turned to her officers. "The message is delivered," she said. "The Reaper will return to the shadows. Until it is needed again." The soldiers saluted. The Reaper had no need to remain. Its purpose was complete, and so the fleets lifted once more into the sky. Dropships rose from the streets, black hulls gleaming against the smoke. The supercarrier rumbled as its engines came alive, pulling it slowly away from the broken world. The civilians watched in silence. Not one dared speak. Not one dared move. For they knew that the shadow leaving them was not gone forever. The Reaper never sleeps. It only waits. Far above, as the Reaper disappeared into the stars, its final broadcast played once more. A soldier's voice, calm, defiant, eternal. They are coming. And every corner of the galaxy knew, if humanity was ever challenged again, the Reaper would return.